this Minnesota shooter, aka the trans shooter, aka the son of the CIA shooter. I'm sure it's nothing that the shooter's father, James Westman, worked as a CIA and DoD contractor. I think it does matter that the shooter had sponsored by BlackRock, and the Trump shooter from last year was in a BlackRock commercial. Like, I think that matters. I think patterns matter. Welcome back to the Blaire White Project podcast. Not necessarily a cheery intro today because in terms of, depressing topics, this episode's going to be very heavy on that. So I think I'm going to split this up into a couple different videos about this Minnesota shooter, aka the trans shooter, aka the son of the CIA shooter. We can talk about that. It was a Catholic school. 2 children, I believe, perished and a bunch more were injured. And it goes without saying, heinous, horrible, like the most egregious thing that we all pretend, we try to pretend doesn't exist, no matter how many times it keeps happening. But there are a lot of different ways to talk about this. There's a lot of different angles you could take. Obviously, depending on who you're talking to, it's going to be the Minnesota shooter. It's going to be the trans shooter. I personally would like to add a few to that bucket if it helps anybody figure this whole thing out. Son of the CIA shooter, that's another one, right? How many shooters are going to have concrete connections to intelligence agencies before people start understanding that, you know what, that might be a thing that matters? That might be a thing causing things to happen. That might be what we should actually be screaming about rather than entering the same conversation that we've entered after every mass shooting. This same tribal, everyone pick which group they want to blame. It's so funny, you watch leftists cope, it's always a white male, and I'm sorry, it's Republicans coping like fucking hell as well. I'm sure if your timeline's anything like mine, your entire feed was, it's the guns, or it was 50%, it's the guns, or it's the trans. It's like, okay, not denying that we got more guns than people in the country, but it was a gun-free zone and a part of the country with really strict gun laws. So we can exit that conversation of that being one of the things that is a solution to this. Just like, I'm sorry, trans people disappeared tomorrow, there's a hell of a lot more school shooters and mass shooters you're going to be dealing with. So neither of those things really fix the issue, right? I'm going to be taking this in an angle that probably a lot of people are going to have an issue with, but I really couldn't give a fuck. So today's podcast is sponsored by Hypnosio. It's a self-hypnotherapy app that is genuinely not like anything else in the weight loss space. And I know everyone always says, this is different, this is different. This one genuinely is. Hypnosio doesn't just throw another diet at you or shame you into working out, because that never works. It goes deep and works with your literal subconscious to achieve the goals that you want. It helps you rewire the emotional patterns that lead to stress eating, binge eating, overeating, and just overall self-sabotaging your goals. It uses guided hypnotherapy sessions available on any device or through their app. It'll target things like emotional eating, portion control, anxiety eating, and even the literal guilt and stress that makes you feel stuck and is such a roadblock for so many people. It's science-backed, clinically supported, and honestly, it's way more affordable than seeing an actual hypnotherapist in person. So here's what makes it so cool. It helps rewire your automatic food responses, lowers your stress and cortisol levels so that your body isn't fighting the progress. It teaches mindful eating and real hunger cues. And it supports long-term weight loss. 94% of its users kept the weight off better than control groups. And especially if you're someone who's busy, always traveling, or just doesn't want to have to micromanage your calories, this is so perfect for you. And plans start as low as $11 a month, which is insane since it's literally reshaping your brain's relationship with food. So if you're ready to stop fighting yourself and finally feel in control, head to hypnosio.com or download the app from the Google Play or App Store. Try it today. Thank you so much to Hypnosio for sponsoring this video, and now on to the rest of the video. I'm sure it's nothing that the shooter's father, James Westman, worked as a CIA and DoD contractor for 29 years, just 3 decades of his life. I'm sure nothing got shady, right? I'm sure it's nothing that the sigil on one of the shooter's magazines was also used by the Highland Park mass shooter. Why would that be? And why is it that we would skip over that, right? I'll put it on the screen. So the Highland Park shooter openly said he was a product of MK Ultra. Openly did social media posts about this, and apparently was also a artist or a rapper and wrote songs about it. And you can disregard that, but like, why? Like, why is MK Ultra such a horrific thing for people? I've seen so many people try to take it there. You know what I mean? I saw Candace Owens post about MK Ultra. I saw a few other people, and a lot of people are onto that. But also a lot of people are like, this isn't the time for this. This is disrespectful. Shut the fuck up. Because if each one of you can jump to your sides, this left, right side thing, and everyone just say the same bullshit every time that never results in change, God forbid people try to look at some other patterns happening with all these shooters, right? And I know a lot of people probably also have like just an informational block to MK Ultra. They don't know what it is, but the truth doesn't, go at a slow pace for you necessarily, right? Like there are no yellow lights with the truth. It doesn't matter if you're not there yet. It doesn't matter if you haven't considered that yet. It doesn't matter if you've never researched it. It doesn't matter if just emotionally you have a block and you're like, no, it can't be that evil. Actually, it can. We can be living in a country that the intelligence agencies conspire to create mind control slaves that go on mass shootings. And if that sounds weird or crazy to you, there's only one of two reasons. One, you've never researched MK Ultra. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're in that camp, then you can listen and learn, but you can't really listen and talk until you actually look into it, right? Number two, you have more of an emotional block to it and you're like, it can't be that crazy or that sounds crazy. Okay, well, the truth also, the truth doesn't equal sane. Like something being crazy doesn't equal lie, doesn't equal false, doesn't equal untrue. In fact, the truth is crazy oftentimes. Usually it's the craziest thing on the spectrum. And for me, I think it does matter that the shooter had sponsored by BlackRock on what was it? His, I think one of his magazines, and the Trump shooter from last year was in a BlackRock commercial. Like, I think that matters. I think patterns matter. It's not about taking responsibility off of the person who did it, obviously. It's about not wanting to allow intelligence agencies to evade the potential responsibility they have in this. And it's shooter after shooter after shooter that's connected to intelligence agencies. Why? That's not normal. How many people do you think you encounter every day that are connected to intelligence agencies? It's not like a normal thing that like, oh, coincidentally. My first inkling that was a psyop was that every single group of people had a reason to blame it on a different group of people. So like there was also anti-Semitic things written on the bump stocks and the manifestos. Like 6 million wasn't enough or something, like was one of the things written. So now you have Jews saying, well, this is an example of anti-Semitism, but they shot up a Catholic church. And then you have people saying it's trans, but then the person themselves said that they were detrans. So are they trans or detrans? And then you have, leftists saying this is an extreme far righter because if he mentioned things, he mentioned people like Brandon Herrera, who a Republican he was a fan of, but then he also had anti-Trump shit on him. So it seems to me that it would be a perfect psyop to create a situation where the whole country, each group has their own person to blame. I saw he was anti-Muslim, but I also saw that he had like Muslim writings on his shit. This was clearly a person that hated humanity. And it is not off the table for me at all to consider how that got into them in the first place. Was it that you were just born some kind of psychopath and you just hated humanity and you were willing to do the unthinkable? Or did someone put that in your head? And it's not to, again, take the blame off the individual who pulled the trigger. And anyone who's going to act like that is being disingenuous as fuck and is a huge hindrance to actually continuing the conversation. It's about making sure that other parties also bear the responsibility of what this person did. And if they had anything to do with it, like engaging in MK Ultra, like engaging in drugging or causing a person to go insane and want to do these things. Like, I don't think people really know how severe MK Ultra was. I wrote down this one case because it's the one that's always stuck with me. This is what MK Ultra can do. In 1954, there was an airman named Jimmy Shaver. He was working under the care of a psychiatrist who was a top MK Ultra contractor named Louise Jolion West. This person when it came out the government was doing this, was one of the people who was at the top performing MK Ultra. Okay. This man, the airman, had zero crime history in his life, never jaywalked, never hurt a person, nothing. After confirmed in the documentation hypnosis and truth serums administered to him, he was discovered shirtless and disoriented at his air base outside because he had killed in the middle of the night a little girl, a 3-year-old girl. This is someone who, again, is confirmed to have been under hypnosis by a top MK Ultra contractor. No crime history, and out of nowhere, in the midst of undergoing MK Ultra, snaps and kills somebody. Now, again, is that person responsible for what they did? Yes. But I would say the people that were conspiring to hypnotize him to potentially do something like that also deserve some smoke. You know what I mean? Like, if we're paying taxes to intelligence agencies that do this kind of shit, I think they deserve some smoke. And I think it's really convenient how immediately the conversation goes to all these partisan talking points that have never fixed anything ever. And I'm sorry, I'm just ready to think about some other solutions here. Like, are all these mass shootings organic? Are there really people that just go insane and do this? Or are there people that are manipulated into doing this? People who are broken in other certain circumstances, mentally ill people that are preyed upon by intelligence agencies. I also think it's very convenient that the corporation that was the CIA contractor that the father worked for was called Esri, I believe. And want to talk about how there's purposes for things, right? This is a private contractor that provides pre-crime intelligence to the government. One of the things that they do. Data about who may commit a crime. And immediately, all over, I saw clips on Fox News, on CNN, of experts coming in and suddenly advocating for AI systems that pre-guess crime.
I am now about to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Predetermine if you're going to commit a crime or not, which is a huge infringement upon your freedom and your rights, which it's so funny how that always seems to follow incidents like these. And whether it's a case of they created the incident to do this and to roll in this AI intelligence systems, or they just want to heighten your suggestibility, which happens neurologically immediately after trauma, which it's traumatic for everybody to hear about this. This is a fact about the human brain. Immediately after trauma, suggestibility skyrockets. It's why after 9/11, they were able to put in all these laws that infringe upon your freedom, that we're still getting sexually assaulted in TSA to fly, 2 states over every time, right? It's the same reason why during COVID, there were all these nonsensical rules, anti-logic rules and regulations you had to follow that made no sense, but everyone's suggestibility was so high because of the trauma and the traumatic situation. A lot of people don't like when you take things to demons, but the shooter did in fact draw himself looking into a mirror with a demon looking back, looking like a Baphomet, and a conversation written in another language that was translated to, let me get the exact, this is the conversation between him and this demon in the mirror. When will this end? Help me. I don't want to. Help. And then the demon saying, kill yourself, kill. So I don't think that you have to necessarily even come at this from a theistic, spiritual. I believe in the spiritual reality here, and I believe that there is an actual sentient being on the other side of demons. I think it's not just a thing people say. I think there's an actual sentient being behind that is evil. But if you don't want to go there, what you can, through modern psychology and neuroscience understand is there are certain archetypes that have evolved within the human brain over the course of our evolution that you can tap into to accomplish different things. Even if it's just an archetype in the human brain, a demon that people can access, we need to know how to stop people from doing that. I believe that it was a demon. And it gets even, that's why people just don't want to have the real conversations. You think, the demonic realm is so separated from government. Okay, then have you looked at MK Austin? Which is when the CIA infiltrated covens, Freemason lodges, occult groups to harness communication with demons for defense purposes and for military purposes. It doesn't matter if it sounds crazy to you. You've either done the research or you haven't. It's easy to find. It's admitted by the government. So we have a government that admits to hypnotizing people and mind controlling people for the purpose of being sleeper cells or assassins. This is openly admitted stuff. The CIA had to go to court and pay victims out. And it's not just America that has their version of MK Ultra. This is something that countries do. And countries do it because other countries do it. We have programs like that because during the Cold War, Russia had programs like that. Mind control is not something that is science fiction. You can hack a brain like you can hack a computer. And you can have it do very specific things. So those two things together, you have a government that admits to knowing and optimizing the ability to mind control people. And then you have a government that admits to fucking with demons and harnessing demons for the purpose of military action. MK often, you can look it up. That's part of the thing that's hard here is that people just aren't researched on this. And I get it. And I say that with a humble heart and humility because I was not always. But you come to a certain precipice where you do know enough and you do research enough where you say, I would be a fake ass bitch to just join up here in this conversation everybody's having, where it's a left or a right problem and it's not an intelligence agency problem. And even if that's not the case here, which I don't know, I can't make up that his dad worked for the CIA, right? Like I can't make that up. I can't make up that the CIA has a history of doing this shit. So when the writing's on the wall, you have to look at what are the things that are stopping me from reading the writings on the wall. Well, I'm kind of being brainwashed by my fellow citizens, how everyone is so convinced it has to be a gun problem or it has to be a this problem or it has to be a that problem, when really it might be a government problem. So you're kind of there, but like a government creating these situations problem. And for anybody that wants to say that's disrespectful to the victims, you're a disrespectful bitch to everybody, not just the victims, everyone around you, future victims, because how dare you try to stifle a real conversation? Like if you disagree with the premise, then you disagree with the premise. That's fine. But don't act like anything you've ever called for or wherever your tribal position is, don't act like that shit works. Because I've been seeing mass shootings my entire life. A lot of y'all, boomers and shit, you were not born into this. You were already in your 30s and 40s when mass shootings started becoming a thing. And the CIA doing this shit started becoming a thing. But for people my age and younger who were born into a reality where we have to look at maybe if there's some sort of government collusion with this, then maybe that's just our conversation to have. I don't fucking know. But people are sick and tired of the dog and pony show, right? Of just retreating to our safe little positions. Well, everyone who agrees with me politically is saying it's the guns. Well, everyone who agrees with me politically is saying it's just because he was a tranny. Okay. All right. Let me know how that works out for you and anybody and future victims. Let me know how that works out for you, because y'all have been saying that fucking shit for years. And nothing changes. I do encourage people to just look into the shit I'm saying. If it all sounds crazy to you, then the only thing you need to know is crazy doesn't equal wrong. Crazy does not equal wrong. So it's either true or it's false. It's true or it's false. We already know it's true outside of this situation with this shooter. So it's just a matter of if it's also true for this shooter in this situation. It really just should have been a big red flag for you that you're being manipulated. If it's a anti-Semitic person who shot up Catholics, a trans person who detransitioned and also liked Republicans, a far-righter who was also anti-Trump and far leftist, anti-Muslim but had Muslim writings on his bum sock as well. To me, that's exactly what a government gone rogue would do when trying to erode people's rights, is create a situation where every single group has someone to blame. I mean, it's demented. It's demented. And it's how you know that none of that shit that y'all are saying means anything. I also have to say, I find it interesting that we have all this verbiage and all this language for the hatred of certain groups, homophobic, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, etc. Not only does no one ever refer to things like this as a Christian hate crime, There is no common vernacular for, there's no Christian phobic. There's no you can say anti-Christian, but it's not lost on me that not only is it an uptick of things happening to Christian schools and anti-Christian stuff, it's also not lost on me that we don't even have common vernacular to describe that, which is, I think intentional. But overall, I just think it's really sad. And, I didn't even post like anything about this on X because X is just such a satanic website. And the topic just deserves so much more than like a quip or it's bad. It's bad. Subscribe to this podcast as well as my main channel. Follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Today's podcast is sponsored by Hypnosio. Head to hypnosio.com or download the app from the Google Play or App Store. Try it today.